Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dragonfly Heart Medicine, our podcast. Whether you are listening on YouTube or listening to just the audio only, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you. And my guest for today is Carl. And I should have asked before we got on how to pronounce his last name.
Carl Johan Schroeder.
Okay, Carl Johan Schroeder. Yes. And we met, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. I went to one of his meetups, and he has quite a lot of knowledge, a wealth of wisdom he has collected. And I feel like he has a lot of information to share. So I'm really excited for some of the topics we have planned. So if you just want to take a few minutes to introduce yourself and just tell us why you decided to be on the podcast with us today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for this opportunity, Kristen. I wanted to be here because you're awesome. I like hanging out with you. And I do have a lot to share with people. I have been developing my spiritual psychology system for, most of my life. I had a big spiritual awakening after college, which clarified to me the life path I had always been on. So I went through a whole long decades of, all the normal stuff like, job, marriage, all that stuff. And, but now with 2020, I mean, it's clear that the world is changing. So I've always offered classes and meetings off and on through the years. But particularly I've gone full time with this stuff since last year. So yeah, I'm working on a book. I've taught some classes. I'm planning some more materials. And I call my system Inner Selves Mastery, because the idea is that everyone has a world within themselves. We are here to learn to be good creators. We are not here to just have a good party and go back home to the afterlife, which is how some people seem to treat it. Yeah, we are here to learn to be creators. We are cycling from the higher realms where we create worlds with our belief systems and our attitudes, and then we cycle down into being incarnated. And we do this continually, not just when we're born and when we die. We do this continually. So talking a lot about the inner world, how we understand the parts of ourselves and how we mindfully notice all the cycles that are going on all the time. That's the core of my teachings.
I love that, because it is so easy to look outside of ourselves for the answers. And it's almost like we're kind of trained to do that. So I love, your meetups and your courses and how it focuses on, that stuff is still there, but really it's about, focusing on what's going on with our inner world. And before we move on and talk about some of the topics that we discussed before we started, tell us a little bit more about your book that you're working on.
Oh, well, the weird thing is I've been working on a book ever since the age of 24 when I had a big wake up. And I had loved writing stories since I was a kid. I mean, that's the first thing I really remember doing, is just making up stories and writing stories. It's about friendly aliens, friendly ghosts, everything friendly, but friendly skeletons, friendly dragons, friendly. But to me, everything's magical and friendly. And then I had a vision when I was a kid that told me to get into computers. So I went to study computers in college. Then after college, I had this big wake up and realized that I really always wanted to be a spiritual teacher and a writer. So why the heck did I just graduate in computers? So it took me a while to understand, because that's a good day job and I can't just write the book I want to write right away. I need life experience. But I was ready at the age of 24, this big spiritual awakening. I was like, I'm going to write a book in a weekend. And it's funny now to see all these courses of like, you too can write a $1 million making bestseller in 5 hours or something crazy like that. It's a good thing those pitches weren't around when I was in my 20s, because I would have fallen for them. But yeah, I gradually came to understand you can tap into all this amazing source energy. And the trick is to apply that. And that's how we build our consciousness. So I
Mhm.
needed to go through a lot of life experience to build the consciousness that could write the book I always wanted to write. So I've been working on this book off and on for decades. And every time I would work on it, it would have a different angle that had to do with what I was going through in my life. And it's
Mhm.
really only in the past few years that it's really core solidified into a message that I know, I'm good, I'm solid, I'm still working on things. I mean, there are ups and downs, of course, but I'm ready to really broadcast, encode, solidify, get down on paper, or electronic paper, the messages I have for the world. So I'm working on this book and it's really awesome. It's really fun. I hope to have it out in the spring.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question. Do you have like a projected date where you're going to have it? So yeah, you've been working on this for quite a while. So it must feel really good that you're in a space to actually put it out there, and it's not just living in the mind. It's actually going to be tangible soon enough, and you'll be able to spread your wisdom and your knowledge with the world. And that's really exciting. I feel like I love to write. I work on books and I hardly ever finish them, but just the act of writing a portion of it really helps me through whatever that time is that I'm going through. So
Exactly.
writing can be really awesome. All right.
Exactly.
So you do a lot of different things. So you do some meetups, and I know that's how I met you. And we had a brief conversation before we got on to talk about some topics that we wanted to discuss. And one of them is dream interpretation. And I think you actually have a meetup where you do like people share their dreams, and is that right? Is that
Yes.
one
Yeah.
of your meetups? Okay.
Yeah. I ran a dream meetup back in the Boston area. I moved down to this Cary, Raleigh, Durham area, the Triangle area in North Carolina. I moved here in 2014. There's a dream group that meets at the Rhine Center there in Durham. And so I just joined that. But then last year I restarted my own dream group. So yeah, the idea is twice a month. The basic format for dream sharing is you want to honor the interpretation of the other person, the person who had the dream. That's the goal. I mean, we're all about building our own consciousness here. So you don't want to get into a position of, predicting, interpreting for the other person, telling them what it means. So we use a format of, if it were my dream, I would think that it means this, or I would look more into this. That gives the person a space in which they can just say, oh, that resonates. No, that doesn't fit. Oh, I like that. And then at the end of sharing that way, and it started with the person reading their dream, so everyone hears it. Then if it were my dream, then the person shares finally what they now think of their own dream. It's a great format, and I wanted to clarify that because dream groups tend to be small. So feel free, if you find my group, to join it. It's just I'm not particularly soliciting a lot of people. I would more just encourage people to start their own group. They can try my group and start your own group if it's too crowded, that kind of thing. But absolutely, dream interpreting is huge. It's Freud called it the royal road to the unconscious. Beautiful quote from Freud. I don't buy everything Freud said, but that is a nice one. And of course, Jung did a lot of work with dreams. But yeah, I mean, just in practical terms, you just think like, I'm spending all this time doing nothing else. I might as well be, exploring the universe and building my personal growth. So that's what dreams are about.
Yeah. And I love dreams. And it's usually pretty easy for me to remember my dreams. But for people who have trouble remembering or recalling, or people who maybe never remember their dreams, are there any suggestions that you have to possibly help them remember so they can start to interpret?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, just to dispel the attitude, some of the basic misconceptions here, like, I don't dream. No, everybody's dreaming. I mean, it's a scientific fact that if you don't have REM sleep, which is the first and most important dream state just for maintaining health, if you're deprived of REM sleep, you start becoming psychotic in a couple of weeks or something, or a week or whatever. Far less if you simply aren't getting sleep at all. But they've done studies where they wake up a person when REM starts, so they don't let them have REM sleep. and the brain starts basically dreaming while awake. They become, delusional. No, so that points to the first level of how the body uses dreams, because there are all these levels, and science recognizes basically just the first usage, which is, dreams are sort of like a garbage collection, the brain sorting itself, pruning stuff that didn't work, keeping the best stuff, refreshing itself. That's absolutely needed. And that's why everyone has to be dreaming, or else you'd be going crazy. So yeah, rest assured you have dreams, and then just develop a good attitude about it. Just realize that, and I can tell you a great story about dreams, a dream I had for Dream Insight. I'll tell you that in a minute, but just rest assured that you don't have to remember your dreams to be benefiting from them. This is like a level of the unconscious that's supporting you. So when you wake up, whatever you have to work with, just start with that. Just keep a notebook, or a recorder, or be prepared to record on your phone, whatever, something by your bedside, and look at that when you go to sleep and say, I want to remember something. I'm ready here. I'm taking this seriously. And hey, universe, hey, higher self, I'm taking this seriously. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to work with this. And you'll have something to work with in the morning, whether it's just a mood, you just think, or sometimes you might wake up with a song in your head.
That's me every day, almost.
Awesome. That is a really fun way that spirit communicates with us. Absolutely. And when I say spirit that way, I mean, capital S kind of collective spirit, just whoever it is exactly. But yeah, whatever you have to work with when you wake up, just honor that and work with it, and let it be that every day you'll gain strength. It's like yoga, there's no wrong way to do it as long as you're starting from where you start.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's important. People who say they don't dream, or is interesting, because I'm like, yeah, I think you are. You just may not remember. But then the fact of not trying so hard to remember either, is kind of more of allowing, like, hey, I'm open to remembering my dreams, and starting the process from there.
Exactly. You want to hear this cool dream about dreams?
Yes, I do. I was just about to say, do you have an example that you can kind of share, and then walk us through how you might interpret?
Sure. Well, so the point of this dream, you'll see, I mean, at first it might sound like, oh, this is a really advanced dream. I've never had anything like that. Don't be intimidated. Wait to the end of the story here. So yeah, I've been working with my dreams a lot. Well, especially since that wake up at the age of 24, but dreams when I was a kid and so on. But so there's the concept of lucid dreams. That's when you become aware that you're dreaming in your dream. It seems paradoxical, but it's actually quite sensible. It's simply showing that consciousness is independent of any particular body, whether it's your physical body, your emotional body, whatever. You can always rise to a larger, higher state of being aware of yourself. So lucid dream, you actually become aware of, like, hey, I'm in a dream. So now what do I want to do? Those are really cool. Some people have them just naturally a lot. Some people very rarely. And it's not something to chase after so much, I would say, because there are people who are obsessed with lucid dreams. I gotta have a lucid dream. All my dreams are failures unless they're lucid.
Wow.
And it's like that's defeating the purpose of waking up and working with whatever you've got. So here's a lucid dream I had. I woke up in the dream between dreams. I was just floating in the darkness. I had no body. There was no light. It was just this beautiful, beautiful darkness. It was this primordial, original, just the night that is comforting, the night that gives space to the light. It was so peaceful. It was so beautiful. It was so amazing. It was so incredibly loving and supportive, just floating in this nothingness and this blackness and this void. And I was very aware. It was wonderful because I was aware that I was aware. It's like, there's nothing here. I'm not reacting to anything. This is pure objectless consciousness, awareness. And that is actually, that is the inviolable, eternal state that you can touch in meditations. That is the Holy Grail. That is the origin of everything, is a consciousness that can be aware of itself, doesn't need anything to exist. That is an incredibly secure, blissful state. You know, when people meditate and go into a bliss state, they're touching some of that. That is associated with the goddess. Now, I wasn't thinking of all this when I was dreaming. I was simply like, oh my God, I'm floating in this void and it's lovely here. It's beautiful. And I thought very clearly, this is the dream between dreams. This is the space between dreams. I can do anything. What do I want to do? And I was just filled with that love that comes from that space, which is I just want to do the best, most loving thing I can for myself. So I realized I want to plan the best possible dream. I want to dream that even if I forget it, I'm going to have such an amazing day. It's going to be totally unconsciously supportive of everything. So I planned this wonderful, amazing dream. Every detail was beautiful. It was perfect. The void was helping me. Oh my God, I was so excited. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go into this dream. And I sort of snapped my invisible fingers and bingo, I woke up like in my bed. I did not remember the dream. It's like, I just remembered that void and planning the dream. But true enough, I had the most wonderful day, and the whole week was wonderful. I just synchronicities, everything. I was like so high, so good, felt so good about myself. And I knew that because that dream was so good and I had planned it in the dream between dreams. So that is showing, like, for that one time, I was one with that consciousness that is always there. It's always supporting us. So even when you forget your dreams, you don't remember them, they are there. Some of the best things happening in your life are because of a dream you had.
Wow, that is pretty cool. I don't know. I've had one lucid dream that I actually remember. And I may have, had others, but I don't remember most of them. It was a really intense dream and it was kind of like frightening. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, oh, but this is a dream. So I can shift it any moment. And then it shifted completely different. It was like no longer like a nightmare. It was like interesting. And yeah, dreams are just fascinating to me. I went to one dream circle once and people it was like, there was a big circle. There was like 15 people and they all shared their dreams. And it's just so interesting how creative our minds can be in creating all of the like intricacies and things of that nature. And I know for me, sometimes it's really easy for me to interpret a dream. And then other times I'm like, I don't know what in the world that was about. But yeah.
Yeah, I get those ups and downs, ins and outs too. Sometimes I'm like, that was just weird. I don't know what to do with that. But then this week I've had a sequence of dreams that build on each other. I'm like, oh my God, when you get recurring characters, recurring themes, recurring settings, you really work with that. You realize like, yeah, my dream world is its own world. And I can do incredible growth here that will then carry into my waking life. And that's one of the great uses for dreams beyond just like the garbage collection of the physical brain that scientists know. One of the next main uses is just allowing yourself to dissipate, to discharge things in your dream life that you wouldn't want to have physically happen. Because the fact is the physical world is the most solid, took time and energy to really build this physical world. Whereas the dream world is much more fluid. Things can come in and out of manifestation quickly. So you want to be able to like act out, play out things there so that by the time you wake up, like I'm good. I don't have to go through that nightmare. I know that, I can tune into good energies. I can sort of wake myself up emotionally or whatever. So yeah, good work with your lucid dream there that you realized, this is a dream. I don't have to go through this. I could change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed lately too, in a lot of my dreams, they happen in the house I grew up in. And like for months, like almost all year, really. Like I'd say at least half of my dreams are like happening in that house with people from like this time period, but like it's happening in that house or near that house. And I also notice I'm not a very confrontational person. So like in real life, but in my dreams, man, I will like speak my truth and I will get into arguments and all kinds of things. And I guess it's just my way of like working that stuff out in my sleep. So I'm not like holding grudges and being resentful in my waking life.
Well, that sounds really smart because like I said, I mean, this physical world, people are carrying all this baggage, and a lot of people are like, on hair triggers, ready to blow up about something. It makes you want to be cautious in this world. You want to work out your stuff in your own private dream space. So that makes sense to be, speaking up for yourself, working out your stuff in your own dream world, so that by the time you come into the physical waking, you can be, very cautious and prudent and strategic. So as far as I wanted to give a little view of, we're talking about this world versus the dream world. So let's be clear about what the dream world is. Does that sound good? I don't want to like.
Absolutely. No, sure.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
loving this conversation. It's great.
Excellent. So one of the most fruitful things I talk about in a lot of my, teachings is the fact that the human being is composed of 4 levels. We actually have 4 bodies. And it's the spiritual work to keep those 4 bodies aligned. So you can picture them vertically. So at the top, we have the source energy. And the source is like the source of all solutions. It's just love. It's just intelligence. It's like, everything we need, here's how to do it. And at the bottom, we have our sort of avatar, our creation, our created life here. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. We're not a human being having a spiritual experience, but the human being is very important. That's our creation. We want to care about them. They are real. They're just, we're in charge. They don't have free will like we do, but they are experiencing the stuff that we decide, we choose. So that's where I'm saying people who want to just, do whatever they want to do and get out of here, like that's completely missing the point of caring about your human being. So we got these 4 levels here, 4 bodies. So everybody knows the physical body, that's this solid stuff, chemistry, physics that we're dealing with, time and space and causality. So that's one world, that's one universe, and all the scientists are working feverishly with that. But the next world, and they're nested like Russian dolls. So the physical world is like the innermost Russian doll. And then the next Russian doll is the emotional world. And it's interpenetrating too. It's not a physical Russian doll with just a shell. It's like all throughout is the emotional world. This is also known as the astral plane. So, and again, I mean, we all have life experience. We all know like, oh, emotions, feelings, I got that stuff. Yeah. But do people realize you actually have an emotional body in its own world? And that's what you go into when you dream at night. You are disconnecting from your physical body. You're going into your emotional body, your astral body. And if you stay within your own personal psychic space, you have symbolic dreams about your own life. If you move further out, you can actually get into the larger human universe, and you can interact with spirits or meet your spirit guides and have incredibly instructive simulation experiences, all kinds of possibilities for growth and learning. If you move even further, you can move out of you move beyond the astral human realm into, angels and extraterrestrials and amazing beings. I mean, there's no limit. The astral universe is that much bigger than the physical universe.
Wow.
So
Yeah. I guess I always knew you could travel pretty far in dreams, but I didn't realize there was, like the emotional and then it's like this just going out and out and out. Because there have been times I feel like when I'm dreaming, I'm a lot in that emotional realm a lot. However, if I'm like meditating or something, I tend to go out further, like in other places, or getting energy work. Like I have, had those experiences where I meet different spirits, whether they're animals or extraterrestrials or whatever. Happens a lot when I'm meditating. But when I'm dreaming, I don't have as much of those things. It seems like I'm more working through stuff. And my dreams can sometimes be extremely vivid, where I'm feeling an emotion so strong, and I wake up and I'm just still in that for a while before I realize oh, that's no longer happening. Whether it's those arguments I talk about getting into, or crying, or whatever it may be. Most recently, so this is interesting, right? I have never had this dream before, but I had a dream I got a virus on my phone. And I was still living at home and like younger. So my dad was yelling at me for breaking the phone, blah, blah, blah. I kept trying to like close this app, but it kept opening with all these like, it kind of like pop-ups, like, you know, spam, but it was like on my phone. I've like never had a dream like that. And it was really intense. And I woke up and I was like, okay, my phone's fine. I'm fine. Went to work, was telling my coworker, next to me, like I had this like weird dream that I had a virus on my phone. Like I don't know where that came from. Like I've never had a dream like that. He's like, oh, I have that dream all the time. And just like, what? It was so interesting. Like he's like, yeah, that's a recurring dream for me that I have a virus on my phone.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the idea of recurring dreams is that there's something really important that the person has yet to work through. When you really work through a dream, so you don't want to take dreams as like, you know, the gospel, like this has to be, or precognition or whatever, premonition. Just take it as a snapshot. Dreams are just information. You know, dream life is that much more fluid. So if you get the message of a dream, the next night you could have a totally different dream. It still may be set in your favorite settings though, because like our childhood home, I have lots of those dreams. My whole childhood hometown, I have dreams set all over the place. Every location has a big symbolic meaning, a certain energy pattern in my life. But yeah, oh, just to finish the point earlier, the 4 bodies. So there's the physical, the emotional, the mental body. That's our body of our ideas, our plans, or basically our consciousness, our human consciousness, our belief systems, how we see the world. And then there's the spiritual body. That's our values and inspirations. That's where we connect with our soul and all the energies above. So you get that sense of like, I want my values to be aligned with my thoughts, to be aligned with my feelings, to be aligned with my actions. That's what it means to be aligned, and have then the source energy can flow down into our human life and help us be good creators. So yeah, working with dreams, it's an amazing way to check in on the second level of our existence, and it's actually even bigger, and it largely determines our physical life. Because if you think about it, if you don't have the emotional energy to do something, you can't do it. You know, like, I mean, people can force themselves, but that just digs a deeper hole of, you know, resentment, illnesses, whatever. So working at the energetic level in dreams is so powerful.
Yeah, that was so much lovely knowledge about dreams, and it just kept unfolding. And I feel like I learned a lot. So when do you do your dream meetups?
Oh, it's the second and fourth Mondays.
Monday.
It's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So you can, yeah. So if you look on Meetup for this, Super Dream Share is the name of the group. And I have another group called the Inner Selves for Outer Mastery. My stuff tends to link to each other. Like if you just Googled Inner Selves for Outer Mastery, it would link to and list the other things I do.
Okay, yeah, and in the comments, we can put some links, or not in the comments, in the description, we can put some links so people can connect with you if they choose.
Yeah, and I do dream coaching. That's one of my favorite things to do. Absolutely.
So tell us more about that.
Well, so just if somebody has, you know, a dream or a series of dreams, or just needs help with their dream work, I can do a one-on-one session, which is going to be very focused and powerful. I still will generally take the approach of, if it were my dream, because I don't want to intrude on their space, but I am clearly, like, as the coach, as the, you know, I'm tuning into what I feel it means for them. I'm letting my intuition come in. And yeah, I've done a number of sessions where it really got right to the heart of things, because, you know, dreams are trying to tell us something. They're trying to guide us. So really it's big life issues. It gets into the patterns of, you know, where you might have trauma in your life, where some growth is stuck. You know, all of that stuff I'm pretty good at, like, intuiting. So I have gotten to the part of not only what a dream means symbolically, but also where a person has some life patterns that are stuck and what they can do about it.
Wow, that's really cool. Didn't really occur to me that that's something that, you know, people would offer as like dream coaching. Sounds really fascinating. And I know earlier this year, that would have been something like I could have really benefited from, because I was having a lot of really intense dreams with recurring themes. And so, yeah. I will
Well,
definitely-
like you mentioned, the cell phone. I mean, I have recurring cell phone in my dreams. Usually I bring out my cell phone when I want to record something or take a picture in the dream. And I'm kind of semi-lucid. I'm like, I really want to remember this, and I don't know if I'll remember it when I wake up. So I'll use my cell phone. I'm not quite getting that that's part of the dream too, but in a way it's not, because it represents, kind of cellular memory, like getting something into your body, into your energy system to remember when you wake up. So that can help me to remember things, to take a picture with my cell phone in the dream. So like in your one-time, virus on a cell phone dream, if it were my dream, I would think, well, maybe it has to do with could be my fears of the virus, COVID virus. All the pop-up ads, that could be a lot of distractions in my life. Maybe I need to focus more. I might do and this is a major dream technique, to replay your dream. Because you're not just stuck with the dream. That's just sort of the first pass of your mind, your unconscious, subconscious mind offering, like, here's a scene you can work with. So then I will replay the dream. I'll figure out some of the symbolism, some of the issues in it, and then I'll be like, now I'm ready I know what I want. So I will just do a light meditation, just talk myself through how I now want the dream to go. And it's like, okay, now I'm back in the dream. Okay, now I want to talk to that dream character. I know who you are. Talk with them, give them a hug, whatever. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do this in the dream, and just let your imagination go. Have a daydream. A daydream can be as powerful as a night dream. And it's all about creator energy. What we choose, what we visualize, that becomes real energetically first. So you can heal yourself incredibly just by replaying a dream and not feeling like you have to be stuck with it.
Yeah, I tend to remember most of my dreams that either happen like my first dream of the night, or like that first dream I'm having before I'm like waking up to go to work. Like those are the two times I almost always remember, that first dream when I go to sleep, because I always wake up right after, like really racing heart, even if the dream wasn't that intense. And then it seems like my alarm goes off at like 6, but I don't really usually wake up till like 6:30. So sometimes I'll go back to sleep and have a quick dream then as well.
I think there's a good reason for that. I often do that too. I remember sort of the early dream, and then the last dream, and in between is sort of a wash. And I think what's happening there is the first dream or so can be that, garbage collection of the brain. You're going through some stuff, perfectly useful information, but it's vivid and it's important because the brain is sorting some stuff. And then we go through a period of, okay, now you got some of did some of your house cleaning, you're ready for some more spiritual personal growth messages. So your spirit guides, your unconscious parts of yourself start sending you messages. And then we start interpreting these messages as dreams, because it's all pure energy. It's about how our brain is going to sort energy patterns into symbols. It's like, oh, it means this, it means this. And our brain naturally picks those symbols. And then when we wake up, we have to get back to the sense of what was the pattern, what's the complex life idea that was all pictured in one little package that means a lot to me. But yeah, we can actually go through several iterations, because I've remembered up to like 12 or 15 dreams a night, which is pretty intense. Basically, I've built up my dream memory muscles enough that I can wake up and remember a long sequence of dreams and not even have to write them down right away. I can just sort of like, get a download, think about some spiritual stuff, and then remember my dreams. But what I usually find is there'll be a sequence leading to waking up. And my point is that the dialogue with our dreams is refining itself. So usually by the time we get to the last one, that's got the best message. We're getting it the best way. So some of those earlier ones before waking up, if you forget them, don't worry about it. Remember that last one, work with that. Because dreams are a dialogue. Another good way of thinking about it, working with a dream, is noticing like, okay, the dream presented this situation. What was my reaction? What did I say or do? Based on that, what did the dream do next? What did I do next? It's a back and forth dialogue. And a
Yeah.
lot of times dreams will end when we're getting too far off track. The dream is like, okay, well, will you understand if I put you in this situation? And then we start reacting like, oh my God, I've got to logically figure this out. And then the dream is like, well, no, it's not meant to be that literally. How about this? And it's like, oh, that means I got to do this, this, and this. And the dream is like, okay, forget it. You're off track. And it'll start a new dream. So that's where the later one can be the best one that got through.
I see. Wow. Yeah. And then there's been some nights where I have a dream and I wake up, but I'm in another dream. And then I wake up in another dream. And like one time, I think it was like 6 or 7 times in a row. Like I thought I was waking up, but I was just in a different dream.
Ooh.
And it was a little like at first I'm like, okay. And then once I got to that like 7th dream, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to be able to like get back to like this reality? Or am I just like, what's going to happen? And then, I woke up and it had only been like an hour, and it felt like I was, out for days, just like hopping around all these different realities.
That's excellent. Yeah, I can tell you what's happening there. The false awakenings. Well, first of all, to congratulate yourself, that's a form of lucidity. That's pretty important right there. You were talking about lucid dreams. So you were aware that I haven't fully woken up, right?
Mhm.
I mean, what was it like for you? Did you start noticing some things aren't fully physical here yet, or how
I
did
don't
you?
remember. I just remember having that sensation of waking up, but then I was still like dreaming. And I just I knew it was a dream. I don't remember like I don't remember. And it was like the same people in the dream every time, but the location would change of like where we were. But we were still like having almost the same conversation, but it was like broken. And we just kept switching locations.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Well, that does sound like you were in the care of some higher beings who wanted to make sure that a message got through. And so they're like, okay, you've changed your energy level a little bit, but we're keeping you in a dream state. So now let's continue the conversation and maybe you'll get it a little better. And what's happening with those false awakenings? So I talk about those 4 levels. And primarily we're in the whole dream world is this 2nd level. But in total, there are 7 levels. Okay, 7's a really important number. Theosophy talks about it a lot. 7 planes of existence. So those first 4 levels, if you go into theosophy, it gets into some details. But the basic idea of like these correspond to the chakras. So the first level, the physical, that's the first chakra. The 2nd level of the astral, the emotions, that's the 2nd chakra. The creativity, the relationships, the pleasure, a lot of that is all about the astral emotional level. And then so on. The 3rd chakra is the power issues, the mental level of making our plans. The next level is the heart level. And yeah, the heart is that spiritual level of our values and inspirations. And that's where we can connect with the greater universe and go on to higher levels. So the point is, each level has 7 sub-levels. Just like each chakra actually has 7 chakras within it, 7 sub-levels within it. So when we do a false awakening, what's happening is we're actually stepping down a little bit in energy to like the next energy level. And we're still in the astral plane. We're still in the emotional dream state. We've just stepped down a little in energy and stepping down and stepping down and stepping and finally waking up in the physical. And this, and this begs the question, so what are the 7 levels of the physical plane? Because I'm saying every plane has 7 levels. Well, this is very interesting because think about the most dense is the solid matter. That's the first level. Then liquid, that's the 2nd level. Gases, that's the 3rd level. And the 4th level is plasma, what the sun is made out of, or those gift plasma balls. It's basically atoms, ripped of electrons, it's a sort of nuclear gaseous state. There's still 3 more levels. There are 3 more levels of the physical plane that scientists can't even detect. They don't know how to detect yet. They probably have a lot to do with that, idea of the dark matter, the dark energy. Like most of the universe is something that, we can tell by gravitational effects, it's doing stuff. dark matter is holding things together and the dark energy is pushing it apart, and we don't even know what those are. Well, there's still 3 more levels to the physical plane, and each level gets bigger than the last one. So yeah, what's happening there is that's what in healers call in the occult, it's called the etheric plane. The etheric plane is the top 3 levels of the physical plane, and it still is part of the physical plane. It can interact with the physical quite well. So if we slip into an altered state and start picking up ETs and spirits around, we may not even be in a different dimension. We may still be in the physical, but we've tuned into the higher physical subtle energies. There are all these beings around that can easily like move through our solid walls and interact with us and, you know, try to help us and guide us. And we're just not picking them up because we're tuned into only those first 3 levels, primarily the solid, liquid, gas, and then a little bit of the plasma. We can, you know, see the sun, fire, stuff like that. But yeah, so again, the false awakenings, that was my point. It's like you could be stepping down through 7 levels of the astral plane and then still step down into 3 more levels of the physical plane before you finally wake up in your physical body.
Yeah, that's exactly what it kind of felt like. It was like these layers going through.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed our conversation. I feel like it could probably keep going, but I would like to go ahead and kind of start to wrap up. So I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure anybody listening or watching has learned a lot as well. And we'll have any links to some of the things we discussed to them. You can find him with his meetup groups, and you have a website. We'll share all of that stuff as well. Are there any closing remarks you have?
Yeah, just well, one quick thing I was going to point out was you can run that in reverse, the false awakenings. You can also, if you become lucid in a dream and you want to go to a more profound, deeper place, you can go to sleep in a dream. You're actually going up the levels.
Interesting.
You can actually like go to sleep and wake up in a deeper dream and now be like right there with, you know, Jesus or the Buddha or whoever you want to talk to. But so generally the idea of, yeah, this is all part of the inner world. It's like we have worlds and worlds within ourselves, and the source, the background love of the universe is our friend and will guide us through these endless adventures. We have so much to explore within ourselves. The more you do this, the more you start tuning out to your benefit from this distracting, you know, collective unconscious, this busy, busy world where, you know, there's a lot of misery when people spend their lives chasing, you know, fame and fortune in the outside world. Tune into the inner world. You discover so much to work with. It's so emotionally fascinating, satisfying. Plus, the source is in there, and the source will guide you. The source will take care of you. You know, you worry like, well, how am I going to get money, get things done? I'm supposed to be in that outside world. And the source is like, relax, just be yourself. Have a great time exploring your inner worlds. We'll hook you up. We'll get you synchronicities.
Important to remain curious, I think, is kind of the energy I'm trying to. Most of my life, I've taken everything so seriously. And this year has been very challenging for me. And I'm finally at a place where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stay curious and creative and just kind of lighten up a little bit. And, you know, everything is not so serious. Just bring a little bit more play into my life. But it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you
so much. And thank you for listening or watching. And I'll see you next time.